Just telling the story today about the rescue of an Australian pilot in New Guinea. I was flying the Air Cobra P-39, and my wingman was named Markov, and he'd been flying with me for quite some time, and we worked as a team, and we'd fly down in the Jap territory, all right, about 4 foot off the beach, and the beach would be crooked, and we'd get down real low so that the sound wouldn't carry too fast in front of me. And at 400 miles an hour, we'd be around the sand beach and up on Japs, back in Jap territory, long before they realized we were there. And I'd catch them that way, not expecting us. And this day we went every day but Sunday. And this day we were going down the beach in Jap territory, and we got come to a place where a river was running into the ocean, back about 30 miles back into Jap territory, and standing on the other side of the river was a person. We supposed it was a soldier standing there. He had a rag around his head, and we went. I made start a run on him. When I'm down that low, I have to come up in order to get my guns down low where I can fire, because when I'm 4 foot off the ground at 400 miles an hour, if I try to bring my guns down to fire, I'd be into the beach in half a second, not even that long. And so when I got my guns down on him, he didn't run like most of them do, and because I'm firing 450 caliber machine guns and a 37 millimeter cannon, and that's enough to make anybody run. So when I came down on him, he did not run. He started waving his arms and jumping up and down, and Markov was right behind me coming in to do his shooting too. And I radioed him right quick, and I said, "Well, don't shoot him, Markov, because let's wait and see what he's got on his mind." And of course, Markov did not fire, and I peeled around and come back at him, and he wrote in the sand, HELP, help, which in English, which really made me wonder who he was in Jap territory. And so it looked like somebody who was in Jap territory who wanted to surrender or something. So I told Markov to cover him, make sure nobody else shot him, and I go there and get some help. And I flew back to our territory and notified the PT boats. They sent they usually would come up with a cover over them during the daytime. They worked at night, and so I covered him and brought two PT boats up there, and they was afraid to come in too close to the beach, afraid it was a setup, and so they put a life raft, air life raft over and shoved it where the waves would take it in towards the bank. And we signaled him to get in the PT boats, and he swam out to the life raft and then paddled out to the PT boats. But about the time he got ready to swim out, smoke come out of the woods, which is about 1,000 yards away, was where the woods and the jungle started. And the smoke come out of there like somebody had fired a rifle. And me and Markov both had 450 calibers, that's 850 calibers and 237mm cannons. So we went after those trees, and I'm hoping it was a Jap camp area, because when we started throwing that much lead back into those trees, the firing stopped and never did start up again. And he swam out, he got in the life raft, and the PT boats picked him up. And he was an Australian. I don't know, he was an air crewman. I don't know whether he was a pilot or what, but he was taken aboard that, and we took him back to the safety area. And I wanted to hear his story, how he got back there that far back, and that was an air base there, was called Wewak, and he was in a twin-engine Learlight bomber, Australian bomber, and they Japs shot him down, shot the plane down, and the crew bailed out into the bay at Wewak, but they was in range of the machine guns. So they got in the life rafts, but then they started firing the machine guns at the Australians in the water, and they killed all of them with this one, and it shot his left ear lobe off his head, and that was the reason he had a rag around his head, which I took to be, a sweatband or something. But it was actually covering the bleeding and where the bullet had cut the top of his ear off. And they thought the Japs thought they'd killed them all, but this guy had swam underwater and got over to one side where they didn't actually kill him. And so he swam in, went down the beach and swam into the bank, and went ashore where the Japs weren't. And he started walking, and the beach is right next to the ocean, and then the jungle is back about 20 yards from the ocean is where the jungle starts, and it's real thick jungle. They have some trails back in there. So he went back in there and had that rag around his head, and I have to say, he looked like a Jap to me, but he undoubtedly looked like it to them, because he passed a Jap in the trail as he went walking in the daylight in the jungle, and he passed this Jap in the trail, and the Jap grunted at him, and he just grunted back and kept on walking, and he walked several miles, I guess, but he came and across some Jap trucks but nobody was around. So he pulled the wires out loose from. He pulled the wires loose from the trucks, and so they couldn't be used hardly without getting some more wiring. And he kept on going down the beach doing something like that, and he didn't run across any Japs, because the Japs knew we were working the beach with the fighters, and so they moved in daytime. They moved way inland so that we wouldn't be able to find them in the jungle. It was from the air, but we'd shoot anything that was next to the beach. And so there was nobody. There was some trucks there, but he then went on down the trail next to the ocean, and he wouldn't stop. It got dark, and he laid down under a tree and went to sleep. And when he woke up, there was about 10 Japs asleep under the tree with him. And I guess he looked like a Jap to them too, because they didn't realize they just sat down with an Australian airman. But anyway, he got up and they grunted at him like that, and he got up and walked on down the beach. A little ways further, down one river he crossed, there was about 10 or 15 Japs building a bridge about 500 yards away from the ocean. And they yelled at him, and he just waved at them and kept on walking. And that's when we ran across him when it come to this river. And here comes me and Markov. And we plucked him out of right out of the Jap territory, and he was sent back to Australia. And they sent me a letter thanking me for saving. And they promised me a pair of sheepskin leather flying boots, and I never got them because the only size they had was a 7, and I had an 11. I have to this day ever not received my boots. But that was the story of us saving the Australian to about 30 miles back in the Jap territory where he had walked to. And to finish that up, it worked so beautiful. The Japs decided it was a good idea, and so they had some of the guys flying up there. We saw 2 Jap soldiers waving and jumping up and down and getting the signals. And they went over there and they radioed us, and I was in charge of the crew, so I took about 8 P-39s fully loaded with each one with a 500-pound bomb on it too. And these 2 Jap soldiers wrote in the sand POW, as if they wanted to surrender. Now that ain't like Japs, they don't surrender. But these were jumping up and down what was saving. And so we got the PT boats up, but we wouldn't come in, they wouldn't come in very close. And we sit there and looked at each other for a while, and we just circled over with these 8 P-39s. And I guess somebody back in the woods, the trees, yelled for them to get back. They was going to start firing. I had cannons back in the trees waiting to get those PT boats up close enough. And when we saw them run, we knew it was a setup. So the PT boats took off, and us 8 went to work on the trees. And I think they regretted it real bad because they didn't get to shoot the PT boats. But Mark Bibisky was with it, one of my other pilots, and he said he saw one Jap soldier where the bomb hit fly up in the air and land on the beach. So they was getting held back in the trees, but they never tried that no more. It didn't work very well. I will come back with some stories later on, but right now that's it for today.